Welcome to Talking Up Music Education, a podcast from the NAMM Foundation. The NAMM Foundation is working to assure that all children have the opportunity to learn and grow with music, and that music is part of daily living for everyone. Talking Up Music Education podcast shares news and stories about music education from teachers, students, parents, school, and community leaders who care about music education and are working to create more opportunities for music learning. And now, here's your host, Mary Lerson.
Hello, everyone. This is Mary Lerson, Executive Director of the NAMM Foundation, and welcome to this edition of Talking Up Music Education, a podcast of the NAMM Foundation. We are on January 20th, the day 2 of NAMM Show 2017, in our ongoing Live from the NAMM Show conversations with various guests and important people that we are so honored and grateful that are here with us at the NAMM Show. I'm delighted to have with me Jane Best, who is the Director of the Arts Education Partnership, who is joining us together with many other NAMM members who are seeking more knowledge and information about being effective music and arts education advocates, so they learn to be informed advocates. And we just came from an hour-long session with NAMM members and several other nonprofit partners learning more about the implementation of the new federal education law, the translation to state level and district level. And Jane, welcome to NAMM.
Thank you, Mary, and thanks for having me. This is a tremendous experience being at
wonderful.
NAMM.
And we really had you, thank you for your contributions in the last hour. At the meeting of the last hour was very informative and wonderful. So let's start with a little bit of an overview. Tell us about the Arts Education Partnership, what it does, what its resources are, what things are available through this important organization.
Sure. Terrific. I'm happy to do so. The Arts Education Partnership is a cooperative agreement that's funded by the National Endowment for the Arts and the U.S. Department of Ed. It's been around for over 20 years, and it's presently housed at a nonpartisan policy organization in Denver, Colorado called the Education Commission of the States. And the Arts Education Partnership exists to serve the field and providing the best research, policy, and practice information. We are a coalition of over 100 organizations, and that includes everything from foundations, government associations, national associations, and other folks who come together caring about the arts being part of the well-rounded education. So though we're here today talking about music, we also represent those who care about theater arts, dance, and drama, as well as visual arts.
Great. It's a wonderful organization. Over the years, I got to know the founders of AEP, remembering that it was organized during the Clinton administration. And there was really a call to action by President Clinton, as I recall, that the folks who cared about it really had to come together in a lot more comprehensive way. And some of those folks are still around, Terry Peterson and some wonderful folks that were at the Department of Ed at the time. And Jane Alexander was at the National Endowment for the Arts. So it was I think part of the history was also, if we all care about it, we have to care about it more effectively together.
That is true. And as you know, I'm relatively new in my capacity, so you can imagine it was quite ominous to actually to go before some of those founders to interview for the job.
Yes. I bet that was quite an interesting final interview.
Absolutely.
Right? But and you are also a native of Indiana.
I am.
Right?
I am.
So you had really good roots, right?
I did, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you mentioning that, because I have often said that my commitment to this job is deeply rooted in the community where I was raised, Elkhart, Indiana, which at the time of my childhood was the home to over 60 musical instrument manufacturers, and today, though that's a reduced size, I truly grew up in a culture where music and attention to the arts and attention to community, caring about the arts, permeated the life I led there and the childhood I had.
And you'll have to be sure to journey back there.
I actually did. I was lucky enough to visit with Mike, who was just in the last session, and go to Conn-Selmer. Yeah. And they were so gracious to me. And, they probably, kind of were the first ones to, ensure that I connected with you here at NAMM, because they talked about their active involvement.
And also what's happening in the community, in your home community. They are in a resurgence. They have made a real systemic district level commitment to expanding music and arts education in Elkhart, Indiana, after a period of just sort of not necessarily depressed arts education, but they're ramping it back up to where they want it to be. So
they are. And as somebody, it is exciting as somebody who wants to be the magnaphone for elevating the great work of organizations such as Conn-Selmer and national associations such as NAMM. It's just a delight for me to be able to brag about where I came from.
Cool. I share Midwest roots with you, and I came from Wisconsin, and I've said it publicly that I really came from the middle of nowhere, and as a kid in a rural environment. And I always think it was really miraculous as I look now that the city fathers, the city of 5,000, right? They had a public school district, that they put together this remarkable arts education program. I mean, it was rigorous, and we also really we're doing very sophisticated content, And I look back now and I go, we were farm kids from really, in the middle of nowhere, and we were kind of as dumb as doorknobs, But really, there wasn't, you didn't go to 4 language classes when you were in pre-kindergarten, which is, a lot of kids have a lot of enrichment now, and there's a lot of community involvement and opportunity. So I too have that feeling of really wanting to work for what we want every kid to have, and if we could do it in our day, right? Then we need to be doing it now. So
well, and I'm sure your case is similar to mine. While I was living it as a child, I completely took for granted the amazing access I had to music and the arts. And then when you get on the other end of it and life experience, and you see other children aren't given the same benefits that we all are, you truly are motivated to make sure that every child has access to a well-rounded education that includes music and the arts.
And we look at what happened in the 70s with the big cutbacks. And now we're sort of retraining the next group of leaders, school leaders. Not necessarily, many in the community are still very committed, but our school leadership needs this guidance, right? In terms of how to develop high quality programs, because many of them came up without these programs. So it's a combination of all these things. So not long ago, Arts Education Partnership aligned with the Education Commission on the States. And this is pretty major. And I'd love you to talk to us about what that alignment means, what ECS is, and how this is going to impact arts education possibly going forward.
Sure, I'd be delighted to. So Education Commission of the States is a nonpartisan organization that takes a great deal of pride in considering itself the organization that serves the people behind the policies. And we are organization that covers everything from early childhood through access to college. And so I am fortunate enough to be housed in an organization where just offices away, I have access to science experts, other K-12 experts, higher ed experts, where we can come together and field questions and write policy briefs and create deliverables to inform policymakers the best we can on why things make a difference in education. In my case, of course, I care about the arts, but it's great to have colleagues who are all putting together the best information and research possible to inform policymakers on the future of our children's education. Now, as I said, we're nonpartisan, but we cover the education landscape in terms of dealing with governors, policy advisors, state legislators, legislatures, school boards, state boards, communities, parent groups, anyone who needs information around how best to look at the effective policies happening across states and districts.
So they're looking to ECS and AEP, Arts Education Partnership, as baseline documentation. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As they make decisions.
Absolutely. And though we can't make recommendations, what we do is provide state examples of, for example, this is what's happening in the state of Wisconsin, and these are the results they are finding. And from there, a policymaker can form their own judgment. They can look at things that are happening in states and districts, consider their own conditions in a particular state and district, and see if they have the right readiness, the right governance structure, the right resources to employ some of the same strategies.
And those advocates that are near or close to that information can also take advantage of that information.
Absolutely.
As they communicate. Even though we know AEP is not an advocacy organization, its resources and its information is available.
Right.
And as a credible source.
You're absolutely right. And we work closely with partners who are in a position to be advocacy organizations. We just really pride ourselves in being the information resource at the Education Commission of the States and the Arts Education Partnership.
And I think that's very, very important, because then you are putting that keen scientific eye on data and rationale for why things work or how things work. So it has sort of that third-party peer review quality, which I think is extremely important. And I think the fact that you are sitting in an organization that has all curriculum researchers and experts there is kind of the perfect example of being at the table. Right. Which is why I think the alignment was such good luck in a way, right? That AEP could actually move and be aligned with ECS. I think it's really good opportunity. And we would like to help in any way that we could going forward. All right. So with the ramp up of ESSA, which is the federal education law, and the development of these state plans and district plans to align, which is happening right now as it implements into next school year. What do you think are the most important opportunities for arts education? And I also have to say, what are your biggest concerns?
Okay. Well, that I just kind of slap my hands together and get excited when people ask me that question, because that's why I was so enthusiastic when this job presented itself and I was fortunate enough to be offered the position to lead the Arts Education Partnership, because in the passage of ESSA in December, the opportunities just became rich in the language that was written for Title I, which is, of course, opportunities for disadvantaged students. Title II, professional development for teachers. Not only that, but opportunities within STEM and after-school opportunities in federal law. So given that the language and good work of partners and organizations such as NAM work so hard to get explicit language that funding opportunities exist for arts, I think the opportunities are bountiful. The flip side of that is you've asked me, what are the challenges? The challenges are, as somebody who started my career in education as a school teacher, and you know the comptroller and you know how federal resources are allocated when they make it to the state. The challenges are getting into the conversation when decisions are made. For example, with STEM, I'm somebody that believes if this money exists for arts to be included in a math class or a science class, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say it's likely going to be somebody who's from the arts and music background who's going to bring the innovative idea forward on how that might happen. So getting to be a part of that conversation is pretty critical, because as you have mentioned, these things are happening. State plans are happening. Districts are operationalizing their ideas. And if you're not getting into the conversation and having conversations with people that are not the most likely suspects, that are now unlikely suspects, then things are going to move forward without you.
You know, what is it? 90% of success is showing up.
Exactly.
Right? Is that about the right percentage? I haven't actually quoted that quote for a long time, but, and I think sometimes it's, there's a concern, well, I can't participate because I don't know enough. Well, you have some resources for that, right? You want to share some of the AEP resources?
Sure. A few things that we're very proud of at the Arts Education Partnership is our resource database. We have one database that's called Arts EdSearch for folks who need to ground their storytelling and writing and speaking in research of why the arts and music make a difference in a child's life. We have a database that you can go in and search to help ground that kind of conversation and draw from good talking points and data points. We also have a state policy database called ArtScan, where those who are interested in knowing what other states are doing and what their guidance is and what their liberties are within the state to include the arts and music and education initiatives, you can go into ArtScan.
Great. And then you have an ESSA site, which
Absolutely.
I think
and that's one that's probably the most topical and pressing right now, because it is a great opportunity to bring together the 100+ organizations that belong to the Arts Education Partnership and the deliverables that they're all generating for their respective constituencies. We are spending a great deal of time in service to the community to draw their best examples on ESSA and keep them in one central place on our website for people who want to pull those resources and learn from them as they work on their state plans and figure out what things look like in this new landscape that we're under.
So if there's a member of the community, it could be a NAM member, a business member, it could be a parent, it could be an arts educator, it could be an artist that wants to be involved. They could call the central office of a school district and say, I would like to get involved, and how can I help? And then these resources are there to inform them as they move into the process, right?
Absolutely.
Right. It's just to remember that advocacy is not knowing it all. Advocacy is being willing to participate and work for a solution. So I think that's in so many of our conversations, we're talking about lowering the barriers to entry to advocacy, and so many times it's just about offering to be of assistance and to participate in some way. And the role of being an informed advocate is using all these wonderful resources that you've just identified. And we've shared them with so many NAM members, I can't tell you.
Well, good. We're really happy important to be of service.
That's great. So, in wrapping up here, we've kidded you a little bit that this is your very first NAM show. So, what do you think, Jane?
So I think I ran into one person I knew after being here 5 hours and completely overwhelmed. And I said, I'm so glad to see a familiar face, because for the first 5 seconds when I got here, I was so overwhelmed. I pictured myself in the fetal position in the corner. And, but then I just was so struck by what a fascinating composite of people it is, of everyone coming together around the same passion for music education, but from different vantage points, and the same passion for music and instruments. And I just couldn't be more delighted to be here. It is quite overwhelming, but I think the work that the NAM Foundation does in kind of creating the platform for people to find common cause in the areas they're most passionate about is really terrific. And I've been grateful to have help from you all navigating that.
Yeah, great. I know we're on a podcast and we're on the internet radio or wherever we are. We're not in a visual environment. You can see a lot of our NAM show photos and videos are at nam.org, where you can get anyone that's interested. And I was thinking about this last night. The NAM Foundation program here is really minuscule relative to the commerce and the NAM show environment itself. We're over 100,000 people are gathered here from 120 countries. There are over 1,700 distinct exhibit booths here representing, I think, over 6,000 brands, music products brands, from publishing to acoustic instruments in the expanding world of technology, music learning and pro audio technology. It's really quite something to behold. But as I was thinking about it last night, it is really a diverse crowd, from the person who's devoted all their life to rock and roll, to the college music professor, to the young college music student that looks at career choices and where they're going to go. And we are really very united by the passion for music. Probably within a day, we're going to have the groups the visitors that actually dress up like KISS. That group will show up. I'm just warning you.
See that.
Right? And they love every minute of it. And it's just part of, I think they must come together on, the week before the NAMM show and pull that stuff out of the garage or something. And then they come to the NAMM show and it's just one of those moments and we all just love it. And I think they all are private music teachers on the side. So, anyway, it's all great. It's really a celebration of music that happens at the NAMM show. So we're so grateful that you're here. Any final thoughts of what's coming up for AEP that we all should be paying attention to? Or
Well, thank you for that opportunity. I'll just put in just a couple plugs that, we have a great website with great resources that I listed, and you can find those on our website at aep-arts.org. So everything we've discussed, you can find there. And we take a great deal of pride in being conveners. And so we host 2 large conferences a year. Our next one that's coming up is March 18th. It's a state policy symposium. And then we do a forum that kind of breaks out people's interest in research, policy, and practice in the fall. So we hope that people from the NAMM community that are really interested in elevating the level of storytelling around the great work that's going on might be interested in either of those conferences.
Thank you so much, Jane. And thank you so much for being here and your great contribution to our forum that we completed just an hour ago. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for being part of Talking at Music Education, a podcast of the NAMM Foundation.
The NAMM Foundation would like to thank Vocal Booth for their support in providing a recording booth for these podcasts recorded live at NAMM Show 2017. Whether you're recording, rehearsing, tracking, mixing, or overdubbing, Vocal Booth has a solution that's right for you. Learn more at vocalbooth.com.
Talking Up Music Education is a podcast created by the NAMM Foundation. To learn more about how you can support music education in your community or how you can be part of the work of the NAMM Foundation, visit our website, www.nammfoundation.org, or join us on Facebook at facebook.com/NAMM Foundation. You can also follow Mary on Twitter